Thank you guys for coming and being so on time and prompt and eager to learn, I'm sure. I am Chef Jenny. Thank you for having me. So today we're going to do a little cooking demonstration. This is one of my favorite things to make. Actually, I look forward to fall just for this salad, to be honest, mostly because of the star vegetable that we've got here, which is the delicata squash. You guys ever heard of these? Worked with them? A little bit? Not really? Don't worry, you don't have to go out to some special farm or some special market. They really are in most places. I think I've seen them in Safeway. They're definitely at Trader Joe's, Sprouts, Berkeley Bowl, Whole Foods, you name it. They're really, they've kind of broken through. And there are many wonderful things out there in fall to use, wonderful produce. This one I would love to just teach you about because it's so easy to work with. I don't know if you guys have ever worked with butternut squash. Kabocha squash is a delicious squash. Oh my God, it's like slaying a dragon trying to get in there and cut it up, and you just have to, pray that you're not going to slice your hands off, right? Don't worry, this one's easy. That's why I always love to promote it. It's also low maintenance, which means you can eat the skin, okay? Don't worry, it's not some crazy high fiber diet. It's just totally edible, so you guys will try it as well. If it really bothers you, of course, you can try to get rid of it. But I even serve it to my little baby. She can eat it. She doesn't have teeth, okay? So that's a pretty good promotion. So let's see, a couple things about this guy. It's really it's out, especially September, October, November. Kind of peters out a little bit after that, but I've definitely still found it, still sneak it into nice holiday dinners, things like that. But I like to just stick to it around this time of year. Then I just get to look forward to it. They end up bringing it up from Mexico, I think, year-round. I think it tastes best when it's in the peak season in California. And of course, my little spiel, I gotta say, it's nice to eat seasonally, in my opinion, because I think things taste best. They're the freshest, right? So they're not traveling so far. It's usually the cheapest because you're not paying for, all the trucks and all the planes and the boats and all that. It's good to support our farmers, right? And it's healthiest because it's so fresh. So I think. Oh, that's a good question. I think if it's definitely if it's not firm, like it should be pretty hard. If it's like really soft, you might have been sitting around for a long time. But this is a winter squash, just like a butternut squash. They can sit around. So you can buy them. I buy more than I need often, and I just leave them in my little fruit basket, and really a week later, 2 weeks later, I can still cook it. So it's not like a real sensitive tomato that's going to mold as soon as you turn around. So I like them for that. All right, so let's just get it going. Oh, I'll just tell you a little bit about this salad. This is a salad that uses grains and roasted vegetables and greens. Now I am a big fan of giving you a lot of ideas for how to make it yours, okay? You can, of course, do the recipe, A to Z, and that's perfectly great. But I love it when people change it up based on their needs, their interests. So things like the grains that are in there. It's quinoa. If quinoa is not your thing, then you can do something called farro. I have farro up here if you don't know what that looks like. We can talk about that a little bit later. I don't want to spend too much time in the demonstration. But it's a different kind of grain, and it takes a little longer to cook, but it has a very different flavor, different texture. So you can experiment with that. That's one of my favorite things to do. You can change up the grains. You can even make it like a wild rice salad or something like that. You can change up the greens. So this is baby kale. You can change it up to be baby spinach, arugula, anything that you like, obviously. You can, of course, omit the greens if you want. You can omit the greens. I'm telling you, you can make this thing whatever you want. I have pomegranate in here, which is now in stores. So that's something that we usually don't see in other seasons. If that's not around, dried cranberries, dried cherries. Basically what it does is adds a little bit of tartness. So you'll notice if you don't use it at all, it might be a little bit flat and you want some kind of something else, some little sweetness, some little something that makes it a little different. You could probably even do raisins. Let's see, and instead of the squash, let's say this isn't in season anymore, you can use roasted Brussels sprouts, you can use really, I can't even tell you how many things you could use. Mushrooms, whatever kinds of things you like to roast, it's great. So don't feel like because this season has ended, you can throw the recipe out, you don't need anything. You can always change things up to meet your needs and your interests and the season. All right, so before I get to talking about our lovely little vegetable here, I want to talk about the grain that we're using. The deal with quinoa is, it's a lovely thing. It's not actually a grain. I misspoke. It's a seed. Okay, so it's really, really good for us. It's a super protein, lots of fiber. And once you learn how to cook it, I think you'll like it a lot more. Someone said, I never make it taste good. What am I doing wrong? And I said, you're not rinsing it. That's an extra step, which I love cutting out all of the steps. But this one I keep because I think it's important. What you do is you buy your quinoa, and then you have to have a little thing like this. This is the one thing I'm going to say that you need. It's a little sieve for you to wash it, okay? The deal is it's covered with a bitter kind of powder around it. And if you don't wash it, everything's going to taste a little bitter. If you don't mind that, fine. I mind it. So I just rinse it under the water, and then I pop it in my saucepan, okay? And I have all the directions on there, but basically I cook it like I cook rice. You could even put it in a rice cooker, okay? So I just do, the ratio is 1 to 1.5. It's all in the recipe, so you don't need to think about it. And simmer for 15 minutes. I let it sit for 5 minutes after that. Perfect every time. So that's my little trick for that. Also, what's nice about it, in the fridge, it'll keep for days. Okay, so you can make more than you need. Sometimes when you make rice, you put it in the fridge, it gets really hard and kind of dry. This, it's fine. Doesn't change. Okay, same thing with farro. Keep it in the fridge for a couple days. You're totally fine. I like low maintenance food. Okay. All right, so we've got our grains, I believe. And we're going to move on to our squash. So these guys, they can get pretty big. So when in the recipe, I say 2 medium. Now, I'd say these are small. They can get bigger. So it's up to you. Let's see. What I'm doing is, this is kind of the only hard part. I like to get rid of that stem. Okay. Top and bottom. Get rid of them. They look like decorative gourds, huh? You could just cover the table with them and then eat them the next day for Thanksgiving, okay? All right, so I've got that done. Next, I'm going to cut it in half. Seeds in there, all right? So I will usually take kind of a hard spoon to go with that. I'm just going to use a compostable one, and hopefully it won't split on me. Let's see. So I just take these seeds out. If you got the time, maybe you could roast them. I've never done it, but might be tasty. All right. So I'm going to get rid of those seeds. Make sure to get rid of them because when you roast them, they do get kind of hard and you don't want to eat them just like that. Might break your tooth. All right, so I've done that. Pretty easy. Now I'll show you what I did for this. I did them diced, okay? So what you can do is cut it just like that. Or if you're nervous about this roly-poly action, flip it over so it won't move, okay? But then you're dealing with that hard skin. So you got 2 choices. I'm gonna go this way because once your knife goes through that fleshy part, it's a little bit safer. So I got some nice sticks, right? Nice little sticks out of it. And I'm gonna do cubes, all right? Now, if you are a little nervous, you don't have to pile them all up. You can do 1 at a time, 2 at a time. I like to go speedy. So here we are, got our perfectly cubed stuff. Did that take very long? It was like cutting up a zucchini. It wasn't a big deal, right? So next what I do is I put it all in my pan. Oh, sorry. I put it in a bowl. Put a little olive oil and salt and pepper, shake it around. Throw it right on a pan into the oven. Now, do I have my oven here? Here's my oven. Oh, look, it came right out. There it is. It's all ready to go. Now, this also doesn't take a long time to cook. Maybe 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. I don't know exactly your oven, right? I don't know how many times you opened that door to check on it, letting all the heat out. So there's no perfect time, okay? It's all about using your eyes, you probably don't need to touch it. You can really just look at it to see it's browning, okay? It softens. If you don't check on it much, it'll kind of char, which I kind of like the flavor of it, but if you don't want that, just keep an eye on it. Maybe toss it around a little bit, but I do it in a very hot oven, so 450, because I like that color, okay? The color, the browning adds flavor. So that's why, and it's very small piece, so it'll cook very quickly, okay? So that's my squash. If you want to add spices to it, go for it, okay? I try to keep things super simply in case someone says, oh, I don't have cumin in my pantry, so I won't do it at all. So I'm really just doing salt and pepper here, and then at home, add a touch of cumin, add a touch of chili powder, something like that. Little garlic powder if you want. It's delicious with nothing. It's delicious with all those things. So more power to you. That's my squash. Oh, and if I want to do something different, let's say I'm doing some kind of side dish. This is great just as a nice side dish. You can cut them in different ways and roast them and serve them alongside anything. Roast chicken, your Thanksgiving turkey, whatever it is. I like to do little, so I put it flat on there, right? I like to do little half moons. Okay, they're really cute. Toss them with some, you got to start with a little olive oil and a little salt, and then you can add whatever you want. You could do a little sage, that would be tasty, kind of like sage and butternut squash. There are so many recipes out there. You can put a little chili and lime on it if you want something different. But then just make sure when they go in the pan, they go flat, okay? Don't pile them on top of each other. Sometimes people say, oh, it didn't brown ever, because you're piling too much on one pan. They need space to breathe, okay? They can't really be touching too much. If they're all piled on top of each other, they're gonna steam, never brown. So give them some space, and then I'm sure they're gonna get nice and golden and add that nice crisp, crunch, flavor. That's all the stuff we're looking for. So I've got those cute little things. And I say, look, Google something online if you want a different recipe, but I think it's pretty simple enough. 450, add some nice salt and oil, and you're good. That's our squash. Next up, we're gonna make a dressing. It's gonna go for this. Now, you're gonna learn a whole bunch of skills. So that is roasting, and then this is making grains. Now this is going to be our salad dressing. Now, I teach a whole class just on salad dressing, so this is just gonna be one of them, okay? This is gonna be a balsamic vinaigrette, a creamy balsamic vinaigrette, okay? So let's see. What have we got in our main components of a salad dressing, usually? Some kind of oil, right? Usually an olive oil.
Oil and lemon.
Lemon is sometimes, so we have an acid. So we have either lemon, orange juice, lime, or we have some kind of vinegar, right? So a million different kinds, right? Balsamic, rice wine vinegar, red wine vinegar, sky's the limit. So we have some combination of both of those. And then if we want it, let's say if I put some oil and some vinegar in this jar and shake it up, what's gonna happen? Are they gonna just meld? They're gonna separate, right? So is that the worst thing in the world? You shake it, you put it on there, but what happens basically is all the oil stays on top. All the vinegar goes right to the bottom. So your salad may just be kind of taste pretty oily, and then you go, oh, that's where all the vinegar is, at the bottom. So I have a trick, don't you worry. Okay, I don't know if you saw when I was putting the vinaigrette in there, it was all together, it wasn't a bunch of mayonnaise. What it was an emulsifier. Ooh, we have emulsifiers in our kitchen too. So, let's add our oil and vinegar. Now, people have different ratios for oil and vinegar. Do I measure everything perfectly? No, I usually just look, okay, I use more oil than vinegar, and then you taste and then you change it up, right? Do you think it depends on what you're gonna eat? Like what the salad is? It might change, right? So if something is, and it depends on what your vinegar is. So if I'm using lemon, if I use a lot of lemon and some olive oil, it's gonna be too harsh, right? But if I use orange juice, that's gonna be a little bit more mild. So the ratios I don't wanna get too confusing, but basically there's no hard rules for anything, okay? Keep a spoon right next to you always, right? So you're always tasting it, okay? And if you're making something, if there's something very acidic in your salad, maybe you want to lighten up on the acid in your dressing. It's all a balance, right? And same thing with sweetness. If I have, a raspberry vinaigrette in my fridge and I put it on a salad with a bunch of apples and cranberries and all these sweet things, it's going to taste like dessert, okay? So you need a little bit of balance. That's what's fun about making your own. You can actually customize it to what you're making. Now I like these jars for a lot of reasons. I like the small ones too, but these have little measurements on there. So I hate getting things dirty. I hate doing dishes. I think there's a few of you out there that agree with me. So am I even gonna, I guess the recipe's over. Yeah. I think it's about a 1/4 cup, if I remember, of my vinegar. Yeah. Memory's still working a little bit. And I think about 1/2 cup of this. So with this recipe, this is kind of a lot of vinegar in my mind. But we have a lot of grains, we have a lot of things that need some of that nice acid, some of that flavor. We want to punch it, okay? We don't need to be gentle. So I can also see, do I need the measurements? Not really, because it separates. So we've got about, 1/3, 1/4 of that is vinegar. If I want to add more vinegar, I'll add it, okay? No big deal. All right, next up, our emulsifier, Dijon mustard. Now, if you don't have Dijon mustard, you know what works? A little teaspoon of mayo. That's it, okay? Doesn't need to be a whole glob, right? It's just a little bit. A little bit does go a long way. And what is mayo? Eggs and oil, right? So it's emulsified. So that's oil that has gotten some egg yolks. Egg yolks are an emulsifier too, and that has turned into a lovely emulsified oil. Okay, so just a little bit, same amount. If you don't like mayo or, if you don't like mustard, either are interchangeable. Got that in there. Now we need a little bit of honey for sweetness. If you don't like honey, use maple syrup or something like that. A little bit of sugar, just because it's going to be too tart. You need a little bit of balance. Please don't measure the honey. It hurts me. Just look at it like a bartender. All right, got that in there. Now, I always like to season my dressing, salt and pepper, okay? Make sure your dressing has some flavor because it's going to go on all of your salad. And some people say, oh, my home cooking is not good. I'm just a terrible cook. I said, literally a little more pinch of salt, you're going to be an amazing cook. That's all it takes sometimes. I mean, I'm not saying that salt is the key to everything. Sometimes it is. It's just bringing out some of those flavors. And eating out, say, oh, I don't cook well at home, so I'm going to eat out all the time. How much salt are you getting at those restaurants? I worked in a restaurant for 8 years. Tell you, they don't care about your health. Globs of butter, globs of salt. So, yeah. So, and this is also kosher salt. It has a different texture from iodized. Iodized, of course, is important for our health as well. But I like it. You use more of this, but it's less salty. Does that make sense? It's because of the texture. It's a little easier to spread just a small amount on everything. It's less heavy. All right, so I got my salt, got my pepper. We're going to add a little extra punch of flavor. You guys ever use these? What are these? Shallots. They are a cousin, I think, of an onion. They're related to onions, onion garlic family. Wonderful for salad dressings. They've got a little more of a mild flavor, but they're also just, they pack a punch in a small package. All right, and they usually come with two little buddies together. I won't use this one, but I'll just show you. There we go. All right, like little twins. Just put that one aside. And now we're going to cut this guy up. Now, same anatomy of an onion, right? Root on the bottom, stem on the top. So I'm going to cut off the stem. Okay. Stem goes bye-bye. I'm going to keep the root end on because it holds all the layers together. Okay. Now I got to peel this guy off. Usually it's not too bad. The only time it gives you trouble is when there are 30 people watching you and a camera. Otherwise, at home, it'd be just a cinch. All right. Peel this sucker off. All right. And these do last for a good bit of time. So if you want to buy a couple, leave them in your, on your counter when you're ready for them. They're ready for you. All right, so I got my little shallot there. I'm going to do a little minced shallot. All right, so it's nice and flat, not going anywhere. I got my knife. Is it dull? No way. It's sharp. Now, do you have to spend a lot of money? No. I bought this one for $3, but it's sharp as heck, okay? That's the most important thing. If I'm trying to do this with a dull knife, disaster, okay? Someone take me to the hospital. Most of all, you won't get a nice diced shallot. So I got my flat knife against the board, all right? Nice and parallel. If I'm up close, my hand's gonna be in the way, my handle's gonna be in the way. I'm step back a little bit. I'm gonna make a couple of little slices and not go all the way. See? Couple of slices, not go all the way. I have a little imaginary line. I'm gonna keep that root end on. So I got 3 little slices there. Next, I'm gonna do my cuts right on top. Again, I'm keeping that root end on. Now when I'm pushing, I'm not going straight down like an axe. I'm going a little bit in some kind of direction, a little diagonal, okay? Because there's little teeny tiny teeth on here, little saw. You can't see them, but it's kind of, they're a little microscopic, okay? And so that's what makes it, okay, sharp. It's a saw, not an axe. So I'm not gonna go straight down, even if I have a sharp, sharp knife. I push on that tomato, right? And go, oh, my knife isn't sharp. You're just cutting incorrectly, okay? So always go in some kind of direction, not straight down. Okay? There's my little shallot. I can keep going if I want. I don't need all this. But basically, you've got perfectly diced shallot there, okay? You don't have to hack, 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 hack. You're crying, there's shallots everywhere. So it's an easy one. I used to resist that technique, okay, in my younger, more naive days. And then finally I succumbed. I said, okay, I can cut an onion in a minute. I guess I'll go for it. Yeah?
So if you only cut partway through, after you cut off the stem, you only cut partway through, what do you do with the rest of it?
Oh, well, I can always continue to use this. I just don't need this much today, but I could... I went almost all the way to the end, so I can keep going, and then at the very end, I'm not too worried about it. Yeah, you can compost that.
Okay, so you're actually almost going to do it.
Yeah, you can totally do that. Exactly. All right, so now I'm going to put however much you want. I think I have a tablespoon on there. If you like it really sharp, go for it. If you're not so sure, you can do a little teaspoon. That looks like about a tablespoon. You can look at the measuring spoon, don't need to use it. There you go. No need to dirty anything up. All right, I'm done with this shallot. I'm getting rid of it. It's making me teary-eyed. Got that. All right, so we have everything in there. What I can do 2 things. Close it up and shake it. All right, that's perfectly good option. Shake, 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 shake. That mustard's gonna get it working. If I want it really, really, really emulsified and really creamy and really get those shallots working, I'm gonna do step 2, okay? You don't have this, don't worry about it, shake it. This is one of my best friends here. I'd like you to meet it. It's been in my life for a long time. It's about $25, not a big deal. I don't work for these people. This is called an Immersion Blender. I love it for dressings. I love it for making, like a pureed soup, butternut squash soup or something like that. Stick it right in the pot, blend. You don't have to mess around with the blender and get burned and all that. So I love to promote it. Goes right in there. I don't even really need to move it at all. So this actually does change the flavor, because if I was just gonna shake it, those onions would be in there and they'd hang out, they'd kind of meld with the ingredients. If I'm gonna blend it, it's really gonna be in every bite, right? So it's gonna be really oniony. So you can think about that if you're not super into that flavor. So look at that. Look at how much it's changed. It's kind of crazy, right? Looks like something you'd buy in a jar.
So you can do that first and then add the shallots after?
You can if you want them to be whole, for sure. Yeah, so it's your call. Some people want all that flavor, some people don't. So this has totally changed things, right? Game changer. If you're gonna make a whole lot of dressing, I think you can use it in the blender too. That's what I did. But all you do is take this thing to the sink. It's not a big deal. Give it to your husband. He washes it, and you'll just be done. Now, of course, you must, another thing, make sure to taste it. Oh, that's dynamite. This girl can cook. All right, so that is our dressing. That's ready. You can make more than you need, put it in the fridge, use it, I'd say like 5 days to a week, and it's great. Just, you've got it, put it on your salad, any type of salad. All right, I'm gonna show you one more awesome trick. All right, we're good. This beautiful little baby, these lovely pomegranates. These are like a nightmare if you got, white kitchen, you're wearing your pretty clothes. All I gotta do is take care of the pomegranate and then all of a sudden it looks like a murder scene, right? So we won't have that. There are many different tricks. Some people like to break them apart in water, kind of with their hands. That's cool. I'm not gonna hate on that. Personally, I think they get a little diluted if they're all sitting in water. I learned this cool trick. I don't remember how. It might have been on the internet. I think there was like a Persian grandma doing it, and I said, she knows her way around a pomegranate. So, this guy. You can also use a heavy metal spoon. Something heavy is good. Oh, sorry about that. There we go. Now I'm gonna cut it. See how I cut it right in the center? So not down this way. It kind of exposes that pretty star. I'm gonna put it over my hand, over a bowl, and you've been very bad. All right? And you just kind of rotate it around, and it just whacks those seeds right out. Sorry for the audio on this, but basically they just come right out, and it's just the seeds come out. So it takes a little bit of patience, but I have to say it's really fun. And you can just stare off into space and think about that parking ticket you just got or whatever. That's I do it by the color. So if they're really pale, I don't go for them. If they're really, really dark and like too dark, sometimes they're almost like overdone. These looked really lovely. I think this is what you're going for. I'll admit I get more than I need sometimes because I'm nervous that it may not be ripe or it might be overripe. Yeah, it should be kind of taut. Not like, have you ever seen it when it's sunken? It looks a little bit shrivelly. So this looks pretty healthy to me. Yeah, and too light, kind of a pale pink you don't really want to go for. But they're always going to be better in season, right? If they're out of season, who knows where they're from. All right, so you just keep whacking it. Depends how patient you are to get every single seed. But pretty much you get them all, right? Not too much damage around here. And then you've got your little seeds. Really is not a full day activity, okay? All right, so those are my pomegranates. All right, now let's put this whole thing together, huh? Let's see. Now, you can make this any way you want. Obviously, I already listed a million ways to do it. But in terms of presenting it, let's say it's just you wanting to eat. I pretty much mixed everything in there together. The only thing I didn't was I added some seeds on top. Okay, you guys can add some seeds. I love pumpkin seeds. I love all of them. You can use sunflower seeds, nuts. I just think it adds an extra crunch. I'm not really a salad person. Is that crazy? I'm standing in front of you teaching a salad. I'm not really a salad person. But I like lots of different flavors, different textures, that's what makes it interesting to me. And something that makes me feel like, ooh, like I can crave it. So I like to sprinkle these right on top. If I put them all together, they might get soggy. So if you want at home, you can make a nice platter. You can put some greens on the bottom. You can put, do everything separate if you want. Make it look really nice and composed. So let's do our nice, here's our greens. This is, oh, so this is baby kale. Very tender. And then let's add our, that's our quinoa, okay? We're gonna add our squash. Now this is good if the squash is warm, it's really delicious. If you add it hot right all together, the hot squash is gonna make the greens kind of fall apart and the cheese is gonna kind of turn into cream. It's still gonna taste good, but it's gonna be a little bit of a mess. So just make sure you're not throwing like really hot vegetables in there. Got that in there. Let's say I'm gonna do a little dressing first, okay? It always makes me sad when you put all your nice things in there, like your avocado and everything, and then you have to dress it and everything gets a little messed up. So just save the pretty, fragile stuff for the end. All right, let's use one of these. And now here's a step that may be unpopular, but I'm gonna do it anyways. Such a renegade. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt to the salad, okay? Not very much. In restaurants, they make great salads because they're tossing every single leaf with salt. I'm telling you, all of it. Adds extra salt to the salad. They toss it with their hands, which I'm not going to do now, but at home, I promote it. All right, so a little extra salt. These are some of these are a little boring ingredients. The greens don't have a lot of flavor. The quinoa is kind of bland. It needs your help to make it the best it can be. All right, so I've got that in there. Next up, I'm going to keep this one cheese-free in case anyone would like some no cheese. But in the future, I've got some goat cheese. You can use feta is really nice because it kind of holds together a little bit. So if you're going to take it to a potluck or something, maybe feta is better. It won't get all mixed up. It'll kind of hold its shape. I kind of like goat cheese a little bit more for this. So you just use a fork and just crumble it like that. You can use your hands too, but I think a fork is kind of nice. And you just sprinkle it right on top. Got that. Got some of our seeds. Use all these forks. Now you can add the juice in, but I'm just going to add the seeds. Okay, make it look kind of pretty. Got that color popping. All right. And then little extra seeds on top. Fit for a king and queen, okay? And now you can change it up. You can have more grains than greens. You can change that ratio based on what you like. But basically, it's all set and ready to go, okay? Now I have a question. You guys want to taste it? Mm-hmm. Oh, good. I was worried. Why don't you guys get on up right over here, and I can start making some samples. Come on up. And feel free to ask any questions once you're up here. And thank you, guys. All right. Start off, and if you want to, let's